Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Family Reflections. I'm in here today with a person that I go way back with, all the way back to the Dare So Played field. Mr. Brentley Herman here. He is a soldier. His career has been with the British Armed Forces as a member of the Commonwealth, with St. Lucia being a Commonwealth nation. So what we really want to talk about today, Brentley, is we want to talk about your experience with the British Armed Forces. It has been a path that many St. Lucian men, many Caribbean men have followed. And I just really want to hear your voice. I want to hear your experience there. So can you just introduce yourself to the viewers and listeners, tell them a little bit of your story?
No, most definitely. My name is Brentley Herman. I am from the Caribbean island of St. Lucia. Grew up in the same community as the host. We go way, way, way back. I'm currently serving in the British Armed Forces. I'm in the Queen's Alexandra Nursing Corps as of now, but previously I was in the Rifles Regiment, which was infantry.
Right. So tell us a little bit about how you got there. What was your journey? Saw this from the initial conception or getting the idea of joining the
No, definitely. That's 2008, back end of 2008 actually. I don't know if you remember, there was a drive in the early 2000s for people to join the British Armed Forces. There was a lot of money pumped into it, and then when it came down to my CXEs, the examination, like my cousin Byron, who got in before me, he was just like, do you know what, we could do something better. We can go somewhere and more or less see different things. I was a bit skeptical because I was 16 at the time.
Right.
I was 16 at the time. I was a bit skeptical. Excuse me. And I was interested in computers. And I had just applied to a university in Massachusetts and done my SATs to go do computer systems engineering. The funding wasn't there, so I took a step back, and then I looked at something that would hold my interest. Being that I'm an only child, I looked at something that I could gain brotherhood out of, and then I spoke to Byron, and and then that's where the conception actually happened. If I'm honest, believe it or not, like it wasn't my first choice. I actually wanted to do something completely different. But yeah, I'm happy with the situation that I got into.
Yeah, man. And I just want to pause there very quickly because people, especially for young people watching this, very often you come out of secondary school or you come out of a school for the first time and you feel this pressure, right? This heavy weight to figure it all out, and you have to have everything planned out. And I feel like that's a little bit unnatural. Maybe we should stop exerting that pressure on young people to have every single detail ready.
Exactly.
As soon as they get out of school, because you're going to change, as a person. You come out of school and who you are as an individual changes, right?
And without a doubt.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised when you say that, it wasn't necessarily your first choice. But tell us a little bit about the process. So you decided to do it, and what happens next?
So I filled out the application online. Back then it was a bit, the application has changed over the years, but back then you had to have had your they call it GCSEs here, but you would have to have your CXEs or some equivalents to actually apply. And then they would give you a preparation. So on the website, there was a preparation test. It's called a BARB test. So basically it's basic math and English. And then if you want to become an engineer, then there is a bit more to it. So you have it goes a bit more into the mathematics and science side of things. And then once the application has been filled out and everything's good to go, then you send the application through, then they'll respond to you. You'll be assigned a careers advisor, and then that individual will then guide you along the path as to where they think you would fit in within the British Army. And that's how it was back then. It's still a bit similar now. However, it's no longer the army, so it's the civilians who have a contract for that now. So it's a bit more different, if I'm honest.
Yeah, as with everything, things change with time, right? Would you
Yeah.
say now it's a lot more difficult to get in, or it's become easier?
So the immigration rules keep on changing. 2013. So if I remember, in 2013, they had changed the rules. On November 2013, the rules were changed that you needed to have had, if your application wasn't in before that date, prior to that date, you needed to have had indefinite leave to remain within the United Kingdom, or you would needed to have had a visa, and you would have needed time spent within the United Kingdom of 3 years. I think that's now in place. Now again, they keep on changing it on the basis of their need. So it's what the British Army needs at that time. So at that time, they felt that, okay, cool, we have enough people from the Commonwealth, and it's not only us from the Caribbean that come through. You have people from Africa who come through to then join. And at the time, the EU they did allow certain people based on the immigration rules and whatnot to join. So at that point in time in November, they changed the rules. But before that, all you needed to have was 6 months left on your. You need to have 6 months on your visa and more than 3 years on your passport at that point in time, because they need to process your documentation, because they would be petitioning on behalf of you to immigration to get you a stay within the United Kingdom. So that's how it normally works.
Okay, all right. So even though it might now be slightly more difficult, just based on their need, it's still very much possible, right? It's still
yes, without a doubt. The possibility is there. Well, COVID has not really assisted the whole situation, so it's kind of on a standstill now. But anybody who's put in an application prior to January 2020, they will be in a waiting list. So at the moment, I did check the website for one of my friends, and essentially what they're saying is, if you already had an application in, then your application will be processed, and then you can come forward. But as of now, they are just putting a hold on recruiting in the Commonwealth, because there was a massive recruitment from 2018 to 2020.
Okay.
And so at the moment it's on pause. But then once the world starts to pick up its feet again, then we'll see a new development in that. Hopefully, I'm hoping for that.
So I just want to reel it back into you a bit. When you told, because you mentioned that you're from you're an only child, right? So when you told your mom that you were joining the army, what was the reaction there?
Oh, that was an interesting conversation, because I was still 17 at the time, and she was just like, no. No.
That's not happening. Yeah.
No. She wasn't. She didn't want to discourage me. But at the same time, I am her child. I'm her only child. But after much deliberation and me, I had to convince her. So I had to explain my my reasoning for wanting to have this opportunity. So I explained that one. It came to the point where I said to her, I don't even want to get paid. I just want to have the opportunity to do something that I will more or less benefit from later on in life. And she's just like, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm your parent. I am responsible for you, so no. Right. And then it took a while. It took a few months to actually wear her down, and then she was just like, okay, cool. I'll allow you to do this.
Yeah, but I had it's of course not very similar, but when I went to the US, really about the same time, I wanted to be a pilot, right? And I got my my private pilot's license, and immediately I was like, oh, a fighter jet. Why not? Why not join the Air Force?
I would think the same thing. It was just like.
So why not join the Air Force, right? And I remember, calling my mom and the Air Force, though. You know, that might be.
The consideration is there.
Yeah,
I
and
make
then
it.
immediately it was just no, no, no.
No,
Yeah.
I personally, I think, not think, I feel that, not, well, I'm a parent now, so I have
Congratulations, by the way. Yeah.
thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. I have a little boy, so I get it now. Like, I actually understand it.
Right.
You're trying to facilitate this life for your child that you just don't want them to go down any path that will make danger, encroach them. So you're just like, yeah, that's not happening. It's like, I want to go. No, 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 no,
Right.
no, no. And it's not a bad thing, necessarily. It's just love. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just love, man. That's all I could say. But then sometimes you have to fight it to get what you need to get to. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, man. And so, you know, the thing is, right? Even because when you joined, I believe 2008, that was the financial crisis. The US was in the Middle East. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure the Iraq War was on.
It was.
Like,
I think it was still happening.
Right.
So the process started in 2008, but we didn't leave till like 2009, 2010. But yeah, you're right. The Iraq War was still sort of very prominent, and then Afghanistan was becoming the more like the main focus of the whole war situation. And as it simmered down, Afghanistan became the primary sort of target. Like, everybody was focusing on Afghan and going out there. So things changed rapidly. As you said, with time, you expect everything to change, and you will see differences. And I've spoken to a lot of people that were from the older generation that actually went to Iraq, and then they said that the wars were different. Not the fact that it wasn't war fighting, but the tactics were different. So you had Iraq was against a military. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But when you look at Afghanistan, it was like you're fighting against
shadows.
Essentially, yeah. Like similar to like Vietnam sort of thing. So like
guerrilla fighting,
like guerrilla warfare sort of thing.
Right.
Like, so they'd use like improvised explosive devices, and then that's where a lot of the casualties were emerging from, because of like situations like that. A lot of vehicles got hit, and then like as it progressed, like they changed. Like, equipment changed, people's mindsets changed, and just the whole army in general had to change its sort of mindset towards how they would sort of attack that situation. Even now, the effects of Afghanistan are more prominent within the British Army than Iraq.
Really?
And it says a lot. Yeah, because a lot of the lessons that we were being taught were Afghan based rather than. So it was more like how you would deter situations in Afghanistan. Like, you had a lot more counter IED sort of lessons. So you'd have more lessons centered about working within that area rather than what things were like different places in the world. Because obviously. As the world progresses, it becomes more modern. You'd be engaged in more modern warfare, and being within working in environments like a city or a town, sort of things like that. But it has changed massively.
No, I could only imagine. And the thing is, for anybody joining the military, I think, as much as you have to be aware of the benefits, and you're well aware of all the benefits of character building, and you mentioned brotherhood and all of those things. You also need to be sensitive to the danger, right? The world is not a safe place.
No. And I think moving from the Caribbean to, well, let me be specific. Moving from St. Lucia in general, and moving to a place like the United Kingdom, I would have assumed you would have had the same sort of situation in the United States, where we're friendly people.
Right. Yeah.
We like to be. It's not that we don't. It's not like we like to follow people, but we like to be amongst people and have conversations and just feel like a good vibe.
Right.
And you move to a country where it's a lot different. And then when you're in a place like the army, you get that same vibe back because you're within that sort of situation where people like you can make jokes. Do you know what I mean? So it has its moments. I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, that really takes me to what I wanted to ask you next, which is how are you able to cope with the culture shock? You know, you come in from St. Lucia, you come in from warm weather, you come in from so how did you deal?
So I'll tell you, it was not really a joke, but it is a joke actually. So when I got to immigration, and I spoke to the individual there, and he was just like, you've come from the Caribbean. What are you doing here? I was just like, I came to work on my tan. Literally, that's what I said to him. I came to work on my tan, and he was laughing. It's just like, so you came to join the army? I was just like, I came to join the army. He's just like, okay, no problem. But when I came out of because England is significantly colder than like it's cold 365. Like, it's not even like there's a different, like they call it summer, but like, obviously if you go to the US, then you have a summer.
Yeah.
Like you step outside and you're just like, at one point I said to my mom, I thought the AC was on somewhere. I don't know. Like, it just, do you know what I mean? You're walking around and it's just cold all the time. It was quite cold. I'd say, to be honest, culturally, I'd say the culture was still there. If I'm honest, I think culturally, London, I don't know about now, but at that time, you would meet a lot of Caribbean people. I think so the London accent in itself is based around the Caribbean accent.
Well, actually, it's the reverse, right? Because the Caribbean accent is Queen's English, right? So,
So it's literally like a swap because after World War II, I think it was, like a lot of people from the Caribbean went over to assist with rebuilding, and then
okay.
Yeah, so the accent that we came over with, it then disseminated within London, and then London in itself adopted the accent, and then that's the accent that you hear. And people, if you think about it, like, I'll give you a simple example. It's just like, what's that thing down there? Like, I'm gonna go down there and see this thing, or just shortening of words. Like, instead of saying "isn't it," they're like "in it." Do you know what I mean? So it's just simple things, and people, I think it's an easier motion to go with than changing your whole composition to fit a different narrative, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like I felt like there was still the same raves or sessions that we used to go to. I could still find it there.
Yeah, parties,
exactly. And then you just meet more, like, it was just like soca, everything was there. And then you got Notting Hill Carnival. So it wasn't like I had lost it. No, I can get the food, I can get everything.
Right.
But the only major difference is I couldn't walk from one area to the next and say, I'm gonna meet my friends down the road. We're gonna sit down and have a chat for how many hours, because none of my friends were there. I think that was one of the things that was really challenging. And making friends in the initial stage is very, very challenging, because people are very like closed and not as open as we are, whereas we're open and inviting and warm to everyone that presents themselves.
So to me, it sounds like there was this framework, right? Yeah. There's this Caribbean cultural framework built into London. And so when you arrived, it made it easier for you to transition. But of course, as with moving to anywhere new, you have this difficulty in really meshing in and finding new friends and forming those relationships.
yeah, you find yourself like rather secluded, and you yearn for it. You you don't realize. I think when the older generation used to say to us, you don't realize what you have until it's gone.
Right.
Like that speaks so many volumes now to me. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I understand a lot of things that my great grandmother used to say. I never took like honestly. I was like, oh yeah, she's just always saying these things. But then when you actually in it and you experience it, then you understand the value of all these words. That they were all the wisdom that they were trying to impart on you, but you
Right.
didn't understand that it was wisdom. You just thought it was just words.
Yeah, man. The older folks tend to know what they're talking about, man. And the older you get, the more you realize it, right?
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely.
But a little bit earlier when we were discussing your mom's reaction to you joining the armed forces, you mentioned that you were a new father, right? And
Yes.
so I kind of want to know now, still serving as a soldier and still being in the military, how does
Yeah.
that shift your perspective? How does that shift your decision making now that you have a little person?
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good question. With To be honest, I am going to be absolutely honest. I have a really good baby. He does not really cry. Like I cannot even like I didn't even understand. I thought it was normal until I met other people's children, and I was just like, this guy does not cry. I think it does affect me to a certain degree where I have to think about the time that I would lose
Mhm.
based on the decisions that I would make.
Right.
However, it does come down to the factor of sacrifice. Sometimes we have to sacrifice time. So I'd rather sacrifice from now till he's about 5
All right.
and do something that would potentially build a solid foundation for him in the future than to give him all the time I have now and he has to still struggle when he gets into the future.
All
So
right.
then if it means me being away for 3 4 years, and then I know that after that 4 years I'll be with him every single day, then yeah, I'll make that decision. I think now as a parent, I understand more what goes into decision making rather than just thinking like, oh, because my mom don't like me, she's telling me no. Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
I think that sort of growth has come into play and understanding that. But job wise, the current job I'm in now, I think the time I think I don't think I have less time now because I
Mm.
work in the hospital now, so it's
Right.
just less time
So you
because I
you
do.
working shifts and night shifts, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so I
Okay.
work. So the night shifts, I prefer to work night shifts because I'll actually have the time during the day.
Mhm.
But when you're working a 12-hour day shift and you're working from like 7:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock in the night, you don't have any time. By the time you
Right.
come back, he's already asleep.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like you feel like you're missing out, and then when you get the weekend, you feel like that's your time to rest
Right.
and sleep and recover for for you to then go back into that same. So and then I feel like I'm more in a cycle than I am actually getting any progress out of it. Some decisions are very difficult to make, and I have to be mindful because of the effects or the lasting effects that it will have on him.
Mhm.
Now, whereas when I was single, I'd be like, "Cool, I'm doing that."
But
I don't.
yeah,
You
help
know,
me out. Is this hospital a veterans hospital?
not whoa. Ooh, that's a good question. So with this hospital, right? So the town that I live in now is a naval town.
Okay.
So the Navy is predominantly based down here,
Mhm.
and the hospital in itself, it's just a regular hospital, but you have a lot of military
Okay.
going through that hospital. So it could be
Okay.
Royal Air Force, it could be just regular Army, or it could be Navy going through that hospital because there's a lot of training facilities within this region as well. Um,
Mhm.
so whatever happens, if that's the closest hospital in that area, then they will be brought down to the hospital to be treated. Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
Kind of the reason I was asking is because I wonder what the facilities are for and resources made available for veterans in the UK, because I would hope I would think that going into the military, you're looking forward to some of the respect, some of the benefits coming out of the British Army. So
Yeah.
uh,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short.
no, I was just saying that in the US, there's a lot of respect for veterans, but not always the resources that they need.
Yeah, I've experienced that actually in the US myself. Like, I think it was like 20. What year was it? I think it was 2014, 2015. One of the years I visited, and I was trying to get some stuff from a military shop, and the guy asked me if I was serving, and I told him, and he was like, it's like they're in awe of it, and I was just like, yeah, that's cool, man. Like, I personally, I don't really like compliments. I'm not really a person that goes looking for, but it was just nice for somebody to just say, oh, thank you. And I got the same thing for the airport, where if you're flying on Delta, you're allowed to board first.
Mm.
Like, if you're military, you're allowed to board first. And I thought that just feels good, man, because you're essentially, when you join the army, you're just signing your life away, essentially. Like, when you really think about it, like, you just sign on the line. You're gonna serve. You don't know what's gonna happen in that period of time that you're serving. Anything can happen.
Right.
Yeah. So, but here they do show love. I'm gonna be honest. They do show love, but it's not like the Americans do it.
It's not quite the same admiration.
They do for their older. I have seen it. So we have our remembrance parades every year.
To people and stuff like that.
Yeah, so they do remember. So, but for us who are serving, we remember. We carry it. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say the other military personnel will tell you the same thing. The love. Some people will say thank you for your service. And it's not that you're going out to look for it, but it's nice to be recognized.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't say it's there, but the facilities are there though. Okay. They've opened up mental health facilities, as in like to aid. There's covenants. There is a military hospital. And now there are a lot of things. There are discount cards given out for veterans. You get given a veterans badge. I think now they're raising more awareness because there has been a problem since the dawn of time. People have been in active environments where their mental capacity goes out the door, like, and they don't know how to cope with life in society. Right. And now the recognition is there, so there's a lot of help being pushed forward. Even people who are serving now, there's help being pushed forward for them. And mental health is a big thing that we do a lot of advocacy for, because we need to make sure that everybody's all right. Right. Just knocking on the person's door, giving the person a phone call to say, "How are you doing?" could stop a lot of things from happening. No, and that's without a doubt. And that's one thing that the British Army has, or the Ministry of Defence in general, has come to realize. And now they're trying to more or less push it a lot more. And they've learned from their mistakes, and they're trying to create more advocacy and more facilities that people can benefit from, rather than leaving it as it is and just carrying on.
No, and that makes sense, man, because you put yourself, and just like you said, you sign, and I don't think people realize this, but when you sign to join the army, there is a mandatory time period that you are serving for.
You have to.
Yeah, you don't get to quit. You might be discharged, right? But you don't just quit.
You can't just leave. Like, oh yeah, so today I'm not feeling it, I'm gonna leave. No, it doesn't happen like that. Even in America. So I was looking at a forced transfer. So I wanted to be closer to my mother. That was in like 2016. I came over to to have a conversation with her, and I said to her, "What do you think about me moving over? Because if I am closer, then it makes it easier for us to actually like communicate, do things. If I were to have kids, which I have one now, it would be easier for her to see her grandchild and then move forward. And then I went forward, and then they gave me it was quite a good insight. I looked at the Marines, I looked at whatchamacallit, the regular army, and I looked at the Air Force. I looked at various opportunities that were prevalent there, and then they were like, yeah, you got a mandatory service of 2 years. Like, you have to serve those 2 years. Within those 2 years. And then they said anything past that, one of the things that I found was amazing was anything past that, and then you came out of the army, you get the GI Bill, which more or less covers everything. Like, anything that you wanted to do, they're like, yeah, we cover that. And I was just like, how? Like, just how? It was just amazing to just, because for us it's different. Like, we get given like what? Well, actually now we get given like free university. So if you've done 6 years in the British Army, once you're planning to leave, you then get you apply for you go through the process of applying, and then you then get given like whatever subject. If it's your first degree is covered, it's paid for. So it doesn't matter what your degree is in, it's covered.
Right.
So up to bachelor's degree, that is. And I was just like, wow, that's cool. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that opportunity is there. Like,
that's so an amazing opportunity.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think they've adjusted and they've listened, because people would have probably complained about it. And you know, if you don't complain or you don't speak up, then there's no changes that will be made. So I think people have made people have made complaints and then stated how they feel and what they would like to, the benefits that they would like to reap from like after serving, and it's been documented. And then things have come up. You can get a house for the army, as in like they'll give you a loan, 0% interest. So like, let's say you want to put a down payment on a house. You get given 15 grand or half your wage for that year.
Yeah, that's your deposit, right? Your whole first
that's
deposit.
Your deposit. Yeah. Like, I mean, and you don't have to pay an obscene amount in return. Like, you can pay £50 a month. That comes out of your salary before you even get your salary, to cover that 15 grand. And as you promote or you move through the ranks, it doesn't increase. The amount doesn't increase. It stays the same. So if you want to pay an extra £500 a month, you can. So it literally, they have created a lot of avenues, and they've created a lot of options that people can utilize, so they can make like something better for themselves in the future.
Okay. So basically, you know, there are many benefits, right? I know just a while ago we were talking a little bit about the danger associated. So
definitely.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're taking a balanced approach, right? Saying the good and the bad. Yeah, it sounds like there's some very good benefits, and also I assume that we haven't touched on the immigration benefits, right? Because you get citizenship.
Actually, I'll have to explain that one. So with the immigration situation, right? So you get covered for, so let's say you spending like 20 years in the army, you've been given sort of like, you're out of immigration control, if that makes sense. So they can't touch you, they can't do anything to you for that time period. Once you've reached the qualifying period, you can just apply for citizenship. That's it.
Okay.
You can apply for it and pay for it. However, the army doesn't cover that, but they've already given you the opportunity to sort that out yourself. Do you know what I mean? Right. They've given you a job, you know.
So it's kind of an indirect benefit, right?
Yeah. So it's indirect. However, they do pay for your indefinite leave to remain once you've qualified for it. A lot of people are not aware of this. It was because I went on a course. And then they were speaking about what people who come from the Commonwealth are entitled to. You're not entitled to citizenship. However, you can get indefinite leave to remain if you're not ready to settle or stay, but you want to continue working in the United Kingdom after you've left the army. Sorry. So that option is there, immigration wise. Whether or not people take that opportunity, it's entirely up to them.
Right. They can bring you to the water, but they can't make you drink, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, man, it's like the old saying that the old people would say, you don't catch flies with vinegar, you use honey.
Yeah. They have to give you the benefits to get people to come through.
Exactly.
I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but there's such a variety of questions.
Ask away.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to know and that will benefit those watching, by all means, ask. I'm willing to answer.
Because I can imagine that right now there's a young man, a young woman somewhere who's thinking like, okay, so during your tour, right, during your time in the infantry, what was a regular day like? What's a regular day like in the army?
That's a really good question. So once you've gotten to your unit after training, we have what's called orders. So a set of orders. Every night before you go, like, because you live within the accommodation on the camp itself. Mm-hmm. So every night or evening. So now it's changed. So before you had to go and read it. So if you came back from a weekend, let's say Sunday night, you need to go and read orders. So you know what the following day. So every day you would know what you're doing for the next day.
Right.
So they'll give you your time to wake up. So normally be 6, depending on your So in my regiment, we had a bugler at 6 on the dot. He would be blowing the bugle. And I never realized this until somebody mentioned it to me. I was just like, I'll get up anyway, but I never realized it. And so I was like, hey, did you not hear the bugle outside? I was like, there was a bugler? It was only, some things you just don't know because you're already in that routine from training itself. Right. You don't really notice things. You're just like, cool, I'm just focusing. I need to get ready so I could get to work. So the first thing that you do, you'll do a nominal roll to make sure that everybody's there. If that person's missing, the reason for that is to make sure that everybody's okay as well. Because people can go missing, things can happen to people.
Right.
It's like for safety and safeguarding of the individual. Right. For the individual. So if somebody's missing and then nobody's had contact with that person, that is a red flag immediately. So then we need to go and try and find where this individual is. But if the person's just skipping out on fitness in the morning, then the person will get in trouble. But normally you wake up, if you have breakfast in the cookhouse, you can have breakfast. I think the cookhouse normally opens about 6 to 8, I think it is. You have breakfast, there's a variety. They've changed it now, it's pay as you dine. It used to be that you get your food, like they'll take the money out of your salary, but you get meals every day. Right. But now it's you pay for what you want. You can choose the options, and you can choose whatever it is that you want to eat. And if you don't want to eat that, you can buy food from the supermarket and have a little fridge in your room if you like. Okay. Which I used to have when I lived in barracks. Then you would turn up. The platoon sergeant or the troop sergeant would take your name. The corporals will take your name, make sure everybody's there. Then they'll do the formal nominal roll. Then they'll do the company's nominal roll, which is all the platoons together, all the troops together.
So everybody's being counted about 3 times,
just to make sure, because people can go missing in between. Because people could have appointments in between. Things can happen. You like it is quite. When I really think back on it, it's like, you never know what could happen on a day. Like you'd see somebody now, and then they probably have an appointment to actually go to, and they wouldn't be there for the rest of the day. Or you'll see them before fitness, and then they're gone. They have something else that they've been tasked to do. So then it's just a precaution, just to know where people are. And then you'll do fitness. Once fitness is done, then the sergeant major will give out his directive, like if he wants you to do some stuff. You either go down to the stores if you need to pick up clothing, if you need to do any tasks that the color boy, we call them color boys, but they're color sergeants or staff sergeants.
For a moment there, I thought you were saying the colored boy. So I was wait, hold on. What are we talking about?
So we just shorten it. We just call him the color boy, but he's a color sergeant. But in different regiments who are not infantry, they call them staff sergeant. And then we'll go down to the store. So basically, the CQMS is the company. What you call it? What the name? The company the company quartermaster.
Okay.
So you have the quartermaster, who's the in charge of everyone.
Okay.
And then each company or each troop, or I don't know for different units, but I'll just go on the one that I was in. So each company has a quartermaster. So they're responsible for everything that's in the stores. So if you need a helmet, body armor, and stuff, you go through them. And then if you need to go to the quartermaster, then they'll send you down for you to get that sorted. Uniform, you go through your company quartermaster. So because the people at the quartermasters are of a higher rank, so you don't really want to bother them. So unless you've been told to go down there, I wouldn't suggest you just going down there off your own fruition. But yeah, so that's what he is there for, essentially. So anything that happens with any damages to the accommodation that you're living in the kitchen, in where the washing machine is, then you report to that individual what's happened. So he'll give you tasks like that to go around to see if there are any damages, report them. So then it doesn't need to go straight to the quartermaster, because if the quartermaster sees it, then everybody's going to get it. Whereas if the company quartermaster has already detailed whatever it is, then it's not a problem.
Right.
It's like basically, how could I explain it? It's basically your parents not knowing the trouble that you're in, comparing to knowing the trouble that you're in, and they understand why you're in that trouble.
Yeah, while you're. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So then they could sort of, they're like, oh, okay, so it wasn't your fault. Okay, cool. You try to stop it, but you still end up in trouble because they have to make an example of someone. Okay, cool. I understand that. Or you just turn up home, and then the principal's calling, and your son's in trouble. So everybody's gonna get it, innit? So
this company quartermaster, what exactly does this person do within the entire day schedule? I'm trying to make sure I have the timeline.
He's responsible for ammunition, weapons, anything that has to do with the company. So the company needs jerry cans. If you're going on exercise and you need ration packs, so your food for the exercise, he's the one that orders. So the platoon sergeant will put in the order as to what he wants, and then the company quartermaster then takes that order and then puts it in.
Okay. So every day this person is taking inventory, right?
Yeah, inventory. Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's so any optics, anything that we use regularly needs to be checked and accounted for daily. Okay. So weapons, then he'll get us to maintain, and sorry. Can I pause for a moment?
Yeah.
Apologies for the distraction.
No problem. So you were telling us about the point in the day past the inventory taken by the quartermaster, right? The company quartermaster. So what happens next?
So if you have any lessons, so the platoon sergeant will then delegate down to the section commanders as to what lessons he wants people to undertake for that day, be it battlefield casualties or just going through whatever it is, or fine-tuning, if I would say, or refining your skills and drills that you've learned over the time in training, ensuring that you're on the ball with whatever it is that you need to. And then you will have your standard procedures that your platoon would be using. So teaching you and more or less refining them and making sure that it becomes second nature to you. So when you do go on operations or you go on exercise, it's not a thing of where somebody's messing up because they don't understand their role. So it's just making sure that you understand what you're doing on all levels.
Okay. Yeah, man. So And of course, this is a regular day on in a time of peace, right? This is
Yeah,
when
so
you're
peace. Yeah, so
yeah.
peacetime is a lot different. So and when you're prepping for operational tours, it's a lot. It's heavy. Like it's heavy because you
Right.
have to do different courses for the operational tour. If you're going to be
Mm,
driving vehicles,
right.
you have to do vehicle courses. Make sure that you actually understand the vehicle that you're going to be using, because there's nothing worse than you turning up to a place and you don't know anything. Like,
Yeah.
it's like somebody has to teach you everything that
Right.
you should have known before you even got to a place. Do you know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
You have to be an
So
asset, not a liability. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, yeah, it's heavy. Then you do what's called live firing. So live firing is essentially you will have live rounds, and you
Mm-hmm.
will be doing these section attacks or these attacks consistently using live rounds to
Mm-hmm.
show or to demonstrate that you have the capability and like the mindset to actually go through whatever it is that needs to be done when you do get on an operational tour. Because
Yeah.
there's like, imagine you have somebody that's next to you and the person does not know how things work. So, simple example, you have somebody next to you, they have their weapon system, and they don't understand that we're in a fob
Mm-hmm.
or a base out in the desert, and they don't understand that, okay, everything interlocks, or there's a next fob on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And then they
What's a
don't get
fob, by
that.
the way?
Fighting operational base. So
Okay.
it's
All right.
essentially where you would be operating from.
Okay.
The name's changed anyway. It's mob. A lot of things have changed. But anyway, so essentially that's what you'd be working for. So
All right.
once that area has been occupied by you, that will be your base of operations. Um, um, but if the person doesn't understand the concept of it and they don't understand what's going on, then
Mm-hmm.
they would create problems. Like if they don't understand the difference between the locals and the
Mm-hmm.
actual enemy, then
Right.
there's a massive problem.
Right. Right.
It's a massive problem, like because they could just be creating problems that we don't need.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
if the locals are not on your side, then you've lost. Like essentially, personally, yeah. If the locals are not on your side, you've kind of lost the war because they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't tell you. They wouldn't tell you if they've seen the people that are doing the
Mm-hmm.
bad things. They'll just
Right.
keep their mouth shut because you've
Right.
you've created problems for them.
Right.
So yeah, that's it
So,
essentially.
and what I really want to pull out here is for anybody considering joining the military, you have to be aware that it is as cerebral as it is
Yeah.
force. You know, I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, you just pick up a gun and you just run around and shoot. That's not
No,
even
no, no.
close to what it actually is.
No, to be honest, like some of the guys I've actually interacted with are intelligent. Like you'd think so. I think people's understanding of intelligence is when you're academically inclined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nah, that's not real intelligence. I'm not saying that it's not that you're not intelligent, but I think common sense. Common sense.
It's just one type, right? It's just one type of intelligence,
Yeah,
and there's many different kinds.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think because you imagine, right? There are people that I've worked with that can't read,
Mm-hmm.
but their math is on a different level. Like, I mean, they could tell you, like, based on the wind direction, how they would hit a target, like elevation, their trigonometry, and they're like, yeah, it's amazing. And then you'll find people that just are good as well as academically, they have the foresight of like how things work, and you're just like, and that's what you would call a complete soldier, somebody that has the understanding of both the academic sense of life and like the sense of life, if I were to speak. And then you'll meet people that don't have any of it.
Yeah.
But they have the heart, and they try and they develop it. There are people that you need to put that extra work in, and that's where training comes into place. Yeah. Training is where you iron out the person, and then you break them down and you build them to what you need them to be. And I think people that are considering joining the military shouldn't limit themselves. Don't limit yourself because you didn't get the CXCs that you wanted or the grades that you wanted at Sir Arthur Lewis or at a university, but think of it as a learning curve. Because I'll give an example. So me personally, right now, I'm in the nursing corps. So essentially I was, because of commitments and deployments, I couldn't finish my access to nursing course. So I was supposed to go and then become a nurse, go to uni for 3 years, become a nurse. Then my later goal was to become a doctor. I took a direct transfer because it was a quicker way to get out of the unit to then see if this was really what I want as an individual.
Right.
Everything that I've just said is absolutely feasible. My first trial with CXC, I failed math and English, but I got every other subject. I think I was scared of math when I was younger. But I passed English the second time going because I had more of an understanding. Some people think like you have to pass it the first time. It's not a have to. It'd be good, but if you don't have the understanding the first time round, it's not a bad thing. I think because we've put that pressure on children from the time that they're young to provide a level of work and excellence. Not saying that it's bad, but it needs to be tempered. Like, yes, you need to achieve the highest, but if you feel that your capabilities are that, then let us refine your capabilities till they can go a bit higher. Not just say, okay, cool, you're not worth it because you don't have that capability as the next person. So I'm a healthcare assistant now within the army, and I'm still doing my soldiering. However, I work in the hospital and I work shift work.
Okay.
With that, I work with doctors, nurses, consultants, specialists, nurse practitioners, and a variety of people, like the people that come from different walks of life. And I did not realize until I worked in the hospital that a lot of people come from like Africa, Korea, different places, and they come to do their placements in the UK. And I did not know this. I knew nothing about healthcare. I just took a step just to see if it was something that I could achieve. Right. And speaking to them, having conversations with them, and they are more than willing to impart their knowledge and guidance because they would rather see somebody want to be here than somebody who's just like, oh, yeah, you're a doctor. I don't need to talk to you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think the opportunity is not limited to what your capacity is at this moment, and people need to understand that your capacity can always be developed. Like nothing stays the same. Right. If everything stayed the same, then we would still be in the Stone Age, man. Right?
Yeah. So, no, go ahead. I don't mean to cut you short.
No. You could go ahead.
I was just jumping in to say that I think that's extremely, extremely, extremely valuable what you just shared, because it shows that because for a lot of people, if they don't pass this CXC or they don't pass this other CXC, to them it's just like, oh, all right, well, that's it.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely.
But it's never over until it's over. It shouldn't be a place where you were like, okay, this is it. Instead, what you should never do is stop. You know, you should never stop moving forward. And I'm really proud to say that I observed that with you, right? You've pushed on way beyond where any any boundary that anybody would set up makes sense. You know, so
I think sorry for cutting you. Sorry.
No. I was done.
I think I learned that from all of us. I didn't learn it. I learned it before I even left. do you know why I would say that? I didn't realize I already learned. So a lot of the things that I display now, I already learned it, but I didn't realize I already had it. Because think of it this way: we were playing football on the field together,
right.
And all of us had capabilities. But it took one of us to realize that we could be a good football team to put us together.
Yeah.
Then we developed, and then we got into the role that we were assigned to because we wanted to be better than what we started as.
Right.
So we kept on pushing the boundaries, not realizing that that would be the catalyst for our futures.
Right.
Pushing the boundaries, not being comfortable with just being that. We wanted to be more. We wanted people to see us for the talent that we could, not even the talent, for the hard work that we put in to develop the talent that we had. Because let's be honest, a lot of us didn't have anything. But we continually worked hard where we thought that, like, let's say I wasn't good on control. Like I'd go early and then I'd learn how to pass and control because I wanted to be better because that was always there with us. And I think if that spirit is maintained within the community, then the limits that we have placed on each other within the community can be broken quite easily because we would be maintaining it. Right. We'll be like, okay, cool. We need to tether the metal, make sure the steel is, while it's hot, we hit it so we can get the perfect sword. You know, it's not massive hits, it's small ones. Ones. Take our time and make sure we develop everybody else that comes after us as well as we can. Give them whatever materials that we've learned, because there's no point in having loads of success if you have no legacy. Like, there's nobody to follow in your footsteps. Like, it shouldn't only be one person being successful. It should be everyone. Everybody should have the opportunity to develop themselves. Right.
It shouldn't only be for you, right? You should be giving back.
Definitely.
So right before we wrap up, and we're already on our time, but I wanted to just open the floor for you to just give advice, because there's somebody watching this right now who is thinking, maybe I want to go to the British Army. Maybe I want to try this thing out. What advice would you give to that person?
I would say, don't give up. The opportunities are there. Have a plan. Don't just think, okay, I want to join the British Army. The British Army is just the house. The house has furniture. Look at the other opportunities that are in the British Army. You don't have to be an infantry. You don't have to be a medic. There's engineers. There are different opportunities within the British Army. It's not solely just that. And when you get there, don't just think, okay, cool, I've gotten there. That's it. I made that mistake. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm perfect. I made that mistake. I did become lazy in certain aspects, as in comfortable. But don't be comfortable. Remain uncomfortable until you've helped somebody else to come forward. Because if I can, whatever advice that you need, you can get it from me. Don't give up. Keep working hard. Make sure you prepare before you get there, so that when you get there, it's a lot easier to continue along that path. And just be kind, man. Like, just be kind to everyone. Don't let people's problems bother you too much.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, and I think that's very, very timely, very well put together advice that will go a long way for someone interested in this path. And man, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to myself and the viewers and listeners, whoever's going to be looking at and listening to this episode. Folks, as always, our tradition here is I will tell you when the next episode is. Brentley and myself are actually recording this on May 2nd. You're going to be seeing this on the 10th. But we had this talk a while back, like last week.
Yeah.
So, you can expect the next episode of Family Reflections to drop for your enjoyment and for your learning on May 24th. So we're looking forward to seeing you on May 24th. Once again, Mr. Herman, thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome, man. Anytime, bro. Anytime.
Yeah, man. Hopefully we can have you in here once again at some point in the future. And definitely.
I look forward to that.
Us. Yeah, man.
I look forward to that. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Bye for now, everybody.